every 11 seconds. That is the interval. It is not varied by a breath in 4,000 years. In a moment, the tactical chair will tell you the object producing that signal is a weapon, and that the correct response is to destroy it before it closes. I am going to ask you not to. Not because it is harmless, because every one of you has misunderstood what it is, and I am the only thing still alive in this chamber that was here when we misunderstood it the first time. My name is Oran Vesh. I keep the Concord's record. I am the last of us who has ever seen a living human being. You called me here to answer one question, so I will answer it plainly. Were they truly as dangerous as the record says? No. The record is a comfort we wrote for ourselves. It says humanity was violent, expansionist, and finally contained. Every word of that is true, and the sum of it is a lie. In the way a list of a fire's ingredients is a lie about a fire. They were worse than the record says, not because of what they did to us, because of why. We cataloged them as entry 3041. Understand how little that meant. We were adding 400 entries a cycle. They were slow. They were soft. Their ships were ugly and inefficient. They died. This is in my own hand, in the first assessment. They died before 100 years, which we recorded as a defect so severe, it made long-term threat assessment unnecessary. I wrote that line. I was 2,000 years old, and I thought it was clever. There was one item in the linguistic annex I did not think about at all. In their languages, the word for a lost soldier does not separate the dead from the missing. Both are simply casualties. One word. No distinction. I filed it as an imprecision in their language. The first engagement was at the Tessekenbergens estate. As of you, first den skapement. My remschi and his Heisley best were sovold. Remember then muddy leftigen just vader. I remi angerdis. We womaned in this chamber. Now Lord, something to mean should triumph. Closer to embarrassment. The way you feel when a child swings at you. 9 months later, they returned with fewer ships and better tactics. We won again, then again, then again. I want to be precise, because precision is the only thing I have left to offer you. We did not struggle against humanity. We beat them at the Belt, at Ansar, at the Kesh Corridor, at Halvern Reach. 11 consecutive engagements, 11 consecutive victories. And at the end of 11 victories, we held less space than when we started. It took me 4 centuries to understand what I had been looking at. You cannot win a war against something that does not treat losing as a reason to stop. Kellinar Deep was the largest action in Concord history, and it was ours, completely. Their line broke in the 3rd hour and never reformed. And then their ships did something no model had predicted. They stopped shooting. Under full bombardment, with our guns still firing, human vessels broke formation and moved toward the wreckage. Not toward us, toward their own dead. Small craft went out, unarmed, into live fire. We assumed a weapon. We assumed a trick. We tracked those craft for 6 hours, waiting for the ambush. It never came. There was no trick. They were collecting bodies. When the field went quiet, we swept it. Do you know what we found? Weapons, intact ordnance, drive cores, working reactors, abandoned, every piece of it, left exactly where it fell. They had taken every body they could reach, and not one single thing that could be used to fight us. 11 years later, humanity stopped. No surrender, no terms, no communication of any kind. They withdrew from every contested system at once, in good order, at the height of their strength. They left the colonies standing, the shipyards running, orbital platforms, fueled and powered and undamaged. We spent a century searching those stations for the trap. There was no trap. There was nothing. This chamber called it victory. There is a monument to it on the approach. Some of you walked under it on your way in tonight. I have never once been able to. Because a retreat takes what it can carry. A route leaves things behind by accident. What humanity did at the end of that war was neither. They sat down carefully and walked away and left it where they could find it again. That is not a defeated species. That is a species that has paused. I have kept the record for 4,000 years. There is one entry in it I have never read aloud. At Kellinar Deep, in the 6th hour, we identified a human convoy moving away from the battle line. 9 vessels. Slow, lightly armed, consistent with the recovery craft we had watched all day. The tactical called for a strike. This chamber was split. It came to the archive for a recommendation. The recommendation was mine to give. I said they are carrying their dead. They are of no military value. And then I said, strike them anyway. Because a species that will cross a live firing line for a corpse will cross anything, for anything. And I wanted them to learn that we would not permit it. 8 of the 9 were destroyed. The 9th broke off and ran, and we lost it in the deep. The archive marked it presumed destroyed. I signed that line myself, and I have known for 4,000 years that presumed is the same word as destroyed. The signal has now been resolved. It is not a weapon. It carries no ordnance. Its mass is wrong for a warship by a factor of 40. It is a transponder, a recovery beacon, the kind their retrieval vessels ran continuously so their own fleet could find them in the dark. It has been transmitting the entire time, every 11 seconds, without interruption, for 4,000 years, on a heading that has not deviated once. Sit with that. Not one course correction. The same signal, sent by a ship with no fleet left to hear it. Going home. The registry resolved 11 minutes ago. The vessel is the Marigold. Human. Hospital class. Recovery configuration. It is the 9th ship. You are about to vote, so let me tell you what you are voting on. Humanity did not stop because we beat them. Humanity stopped because they were waiting. Their word for a lost soldier makes no distinction between the dead and the missing. 4,000 years ago, I filed that as an imprecision in their language. It is not an imprecision. It is a doctrine. A species that will not separate those two words cannot close a war while a name is still open on the list. They set their weapons down where they could find them again, and they waited for their last ship to come home. There is one name on the Marigold's manifest that was never accounted for. I have had it in front of me since the registry resolved. Sergeant Ada Roche. In 90 seconds, that ship crosses the beacon line. Its transponder will register as recovered. 4,000 waiting, and Brandener will register as recovered. 4,000 years of waiting will end. And it will not end with our answer. It will end with theirs. I am not asking you to spare it. I no longer believe that is a decision this chamber has. I am asking you to listen. While there is still something to hear, you have all stopped hearing it. Hearing it. That is what happens to a sound that never changes. It has been underneath every word I have spoken tonight, and underneath every word spoken in this chamber, for 11 days, and not one of you has noticed it since the first hour. Every 11 seconds. It stopped. She's home.